Yo, 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 welcome back. It's the Cold War, episode 298 for those kids playing at home. Scratch that off on your bingo card.
Oh, yeah.
They said we'd never make it to
We-
300.
we
I don't know, we're zooming in.
We are. We're getting closer.
Somebody,
Yeah.
I bet you can't do 300 episodes and still be in the 1950s. And I was like, hold my beer, motherfucker.
We showed them. Ain't no one can drag something out
10
longer.
years. We're still in
Exactly.
the 1950s.
Yeah, don't fuck with us.
Has it been 10 years? It's probably been 10 years.
If we do it right, the podcast about the Cold War will actually be
Have you
longer
ever done anything
than
right?
the Cold War itself. I've been close a couple
in your
times.
life done
I've been
anything right?
close a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag.
Yeah, that's what your wife says.
Yeah.
I'm close. No.
Missed
lost
it by that much. Anyway.
Hey, so let me see. You're old enough to remember this. I did a Facebook thing about it earlier today.
Right.
I was reading a book, Glory Road by Robert Heinlein the other night, and he mentioned something about transparent overlays. The book was written in 1950. Do you remember when we were children, your fancy encyclopedias
Well, yeah, I had
had these transparent overlays
Yeah.
in some parts where, yeah.
Mostly
you'd have
the
human
medical
body,
or-
and you'd have the skeletal system,
yes.
yeah, and then you'd
Yeah.
have the veins, and then you'd have and this. I haven't thought about those for decades. This image of them popped into my head, and it gave me such a warm, fuzzy feeling. Because I used to love those, and when we were kids, like in the 70s,
Yeah.
that was the height of fucking technology.
That was science.
Transparent plastic
Yes.
you could put over things to
Yes.
show how volcanoes
Yeah.
were the inside of the earth. We build it up by layer.
Magma.
Fucking lived for those things. I
Yeah.
would go to libraries and look in encyclopedias to find those things. And I was trying to explain it to Fox, and I was going, well, when I was a kid, I said to Chrissy, do you remember transparent overlay? She's going, oh, yeah. And Fox goes, what's that? And I go, well, it was this thing in encyclopedias. He's like, what's an encyclopedia? So I go, okay. So before we had the internet, we had to get books.
Hey, sit down. This is going to take
Everything
a
we
while.
learned from books.
Right. This is going to take a while. I used to just look for the
that story.
sex organs, but no, volcanoes too. Sure. Yeah, that too.
Oh, I had breakfast with Steve Sammartino last week.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Sammartino and I, my co-host on the Futuristic,
Right.
we're talking about starting a new company. We're starting a robots company.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going into the robots business. But I was, I don't know, we were just talking about stuff, and I was telling him how people used to complain that we get all of our knowledge from books,
Yeah.
and how funny that was. We were talking about reading as a hack. Anyway, back to Castro.
Yeah. He's got a plan. He's a man on a mission, maybe not from God, but he is ready to leave Mexico's shores, brave the seas of what used to be called the Gulf of Mexico, now Gulf of America. And yeah, no, he's bringing liberty back to Cuba. Praise Castro.
In our last episode, they jumped on the boat, the Granma, and
82 men.
left
Yeah.
left the shores of Florida. They're heading to, it's Mexico.
Mexico.
Left the shores of Mexico.
Yeah.
They're heading to Cuba. Now, it was supposed to take 5 days.
Right.
It took 7. Now, the best laid plans of mice and men and Castro's, as we saw in the Moncada barracks,
Yeah.
he had a plan. The plan didn't work.
This close. Sorry. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time he had a plan.
Yeah.
Had a whole year to think about this plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plan didn't work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just going to say.
So they set off with.
Sorry, you go ahead. I apologize. That was very uncouth of me.
No, you were just going to. Just stop doing it.
Okay.
13
No,
years
you
we've been
stop
this
doing it.
motherfucker.
Why is it always my fault when. No. Sorry, kids, you had to see that. No, we've stressed this point several times where Castro has a very self-deprecating sense of humor, and he's more honest than most leaders about when he makes mistakes. Because I was reading one of the books where it's nothing, you gave it to me, it's nothing more than a massive interview. And when he's talking about this moment in time, he goes, we didn't know much about sailing. We loaded up 82 men plus weapons, munitions, food, extra fuel into the Granma, which again, don't call it Grandma. It slowed down the boat tremendously. It took us 7 days instead of 5. And then it gets even worse from there. But and I'm not picking on Trump. I'm not, but Trump has a thing of going, no one knows more about blank than me, which is clearly not true. But here's a guy going, you know what? I made all these plans. And guess what I forgot to do? It's not like they could have sailed to Cuba a couple times in practice. But again, he's going, look, we didn't know much about sailing. We had the guns. We had the attitude. We had the right stuff. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing in a boat. And it took us an extra 48 hours. And as we're going to see in a couple of minutes, those extra 48 hours cost him and his followers severely. But again, here's just another moment where this guy goes, you know what? Fucked up. It's on me because I'm the leader. I just thought that was very human of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he would have acknowledged or admitted that in the moment.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to acknowledge that 30, 40 years later.
When you've won.
Well, yes, but that said, that is one of the things that's always impressed me about Castro, is his, I wouldn't call it self-deprecating, but his willingness to acknowledge throughout his career as the leader of Cuba too, that he fucked up. You know, a lot of the problems that Cuba had in those decades, when you read interviews with him later in life, he says, yeah, look, we didn't know about agriculture. We didn't know anything about it. I was a lawyer. I didn't know anything about agriculture. You know, we tried to do this. It failed. We tried something else. It failed. We just tried everything that we knew. And as someone who's done startups and run businesses and had a lot of failure in life, I get that. I guess that I'm like, yeah, you start a business,
but you try.
You don't know what you're doing. You're just like, I think I can do this. I'm a fairly smart guy. I think I can pull this off. And then shit goes wrong, and you go, I didn't see that coming. Okay, fuck.
Did not know that.
Shit.
Right.
Difference is, when I make mistakes, people don't die usually, as far as I know. Have you started watching the new show Pluribus yet?
No.
Vince Gilligan's new show?
No.
Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, got a new show on Apple TV called Pluribus. Stars Rhea Seehorn, who played Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul. She was like the second lead in that.
Yes.
Don't want to spoil it. Great show. Fucking great show.
Right.
But when she makes a mistake early on in the show, 11 million people die. So,
Jesus.
Some mistakes are better than other mistakes.
Yeah.
In this mistake, like when he no one say fucked up in the Moncada barracks, but when they didn't realize the guards might be where they were, that cost the lives of some of his men. He doubles down and he goes to jail for a few years, as does his brother and other guys. Che. Che wasn't there, but Che is in this one. People died because of the mistakes both times.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this time, it wasn't just the boat was too heavy, but it was also bad weather that they didn't foresee. It's a bit like Napoleon going into Russia in 1812, right? Thought he would get in, quick campaign, get out. Turns out the campaign wasn't as quick as he thought because the Russians ran away. He kept chasing him. They kept running away. Gets to Moscow. They burn Moscow. The Russians, this is. He's like, okay, let's go back to France. This is a washout.
Yeah.
But then they get hit with the worst winter the Russians have seen in 100 years, and it hits early.
Yeah.
Earlier than the almanacs said the winter was going to hit. Cost the lives of most of his army. Hundreds of thousands of men died.
Right.
His fault, yes. Could he have predicted it? Maybe, but what are you going to do? You can't.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing your Julius Caesar plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, somewhere down there you go, well, worst case scenario, worst winter in 100 years hits and it comes a month early.
Right.
What do I do?
Got a plan.
What the fuck can you do, right?
But
what can you do?
Exactly. But see, the thing that make
an extra blanket.
or 14, whatever. The one thing that's for me is that just because you have the desire, and I think that's the right word, the Castro has the desire to free his people from the suppression. It suddenly doesn't make you an expert sailor. It doesn't make you an expert about weather. It doesn't make you an expert. It's just it's something you want to do. But the ironic part is, for all of his times he messed up, that he fell short, he's going to keep going. He's going to keep going because of that desire. But again, it doesn't suddenly make you an expert in everything. There's a goal that you want, and you're just going to have to put up with heaven and hell until you get that goal. And again, even though this goes horribly wrong, he's not going to stop because he's Castro.
Yeah. So they sailed 1,200 miles across the Gulf of Mexico,
Right.
and most of them were seasick.
Yeah.
Now the plan was they had
Oh, they had
some
a plan.
guys still behind in Cuba.
Yeah.
And women, not just guys, and women
Mm-hmm.
running the operation over there. The plan was for them to be met by a small force waiting for them on a deserted beach where they were going to land.
Right.
Then they would move inland towards Bayamo and Santiago. The landing was scheduled to coincide with an uprising in Santiago and a fresh attack on the Moncada barracks and the police headquarters, which would divert Batista's local forces
Yeah.
and give Castro and his men time to move into the hills
Unimpeded.
without any serious opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good plan. It's a good plan.
It's a good plan. Their plan is to get into the Sierra Maestra mountains and build support from the local communities, build a revolution in the mountains, and then start to make their way to it. Because there was only 82 guys. I mean, 82 guys is 82 guys, but they're going up against a well-funded,
Yeah.
army
Yeah.
supported by the United States.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the weather, the heavy boat gets in the way. Now, the guy who was leading the Cuban side of the July 26th movement, so named because that was the date when they originally attacked the Moncada barracks, a guy called Frank País, he had launched the urban uprising in Santiago as planned on November 30th, but then Castro doesn't arrive on the beach.
Yeah.
He and his men hold the city for much of the day, but then there's no word of Castro's landing. They're being counterattacked by government troops. They had to retire into the hills. And the trucks that were waiting on the beach for Castro's boat to arrive and to take all of his guys up into the mountains had to withdraw because government troops and planes are searching the area for them as well. So
yeah,
everything fucked up. Everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, it was a clusterfuck.
So he arrives with his guys.
Right.
They're all sick.
Yeah.
There's no guys waiting for them, no trucks.
Right.
They're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we need to walk. So they start marching towards the mountains, still sick.
Yeah.
Not enough food. They had enough food on the boat to get them to Cuba.
Yeah.
They had 5 days worth of food, were 7 days on the boat. They get there. They're expecting to have food and supplies when they get there and transport. None of that's there.
Yeah.
So they're hungry, they're sick, and they have to start marching towards the mountains.
Yeah.
They march for 3 days.
Jeez.
Oh, and immediately when they land, they see government spotter planes.
Yes. Yes.
Overhead looking for them. So they're having to hide immediately.
Right. They were spotted. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so you're right. So whether it takes longer, no food, the government already knows they're coming, so they're already deploying men. And there's a spotter plane, but you know what becomes after a spotter plane? A fighter plane. And the fighter plane, which we're going to get into it, because it's going to be showing up a couple of times. It has 8 50 cal guns on it. And when one of those strafes you, you know you're being strafed. So again, this is again, not really his fault, but this is a clusterfuck operation from the get-go.
They've been marching for about 3 days, not a lot of food. They're sick still, hungry, tired, and they're at a place called Alegria de Pio. They march past a little patch of heavy woods, maybe a couple of acres in size. They come to the edge of the woods, explore a bit, and then split up, separate a couple of 100 yards from each other. It's late in the day. They're totally exhausted and hungry. So Fidel decides to set up a camp on a little hill a few yards away from a field of sugarcane that they
Right.
could suck on. You
Yeah.
ever cut down sugarcane and chewed on it?
I've sucked. I don't know. I've cut. For some reason, I'm having memories because South Carolina. There was some sucking, and I enjoyed it. I think my grandfather. I don't.
There's lots of sugarcane in South Carolina.
Well, I got it from somewhere. I was in South Carolina. I don't know. I'm just saying. I remember.
Oh.
I remember sucking in some sugar.
Well, the town I grew up in, Bundaberg, is a sugarcane region. It's sugarcane everywhere.
Did you cut?
All the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's pretty physically.
And I've done it with.
Demanding. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I've done it with no, it's not. No, I didn't. I wasn't working in the fields, but you just take a machete down to a sugarcane farm and you just whoosh,
yeah,
whack it off. You just whack it off, Ray.
You whack it
You're
off.
very
And
good
suck.
at whacking it off.
Right.
Yeah. If
So
there's anything I'm good at.
two things: whacking and sucking. Go ahead.
I was talking to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to Chrissy about this last night. We were talking about why we love kung fu, and I was like, it's part of the attraction for me of kung fu is part of it's the health and fitness thing,
Right.
but part of it is just this desire to be good at something. I'm 55, and I don't feel like I'm good at anything.
I agree.
Chrissy can play violin.
Right.
I can dabble. I dabble in chess. I dabble in guitar.
Yeah.
I dabble in painting. I've dabbled in lots of things, but I'm not really good at anything. And she goes, that's not true. You're good at podcasting. I'm no. If I was good at podcasting, I'd be way more successful. I dabble.
Right.
I'm dabbling.
We're dabbling right now.
I said, look,
Yeah.
I'm really good at one thing. Eating pussy.
Right.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing I would say
Which-
that I've reached a fairly high level of competency at, and I have one customer.
Right.
So it's not really that valuable a skill. Although I would have to say whacking off
Yeah.
is probably a lesser. I'm not as good at
Close
that,
second.
I would say.
Close second.
And again, one customer, unless I'm with you, and then there's two customers. But anyway, and if she's there, I have
Right.
two customers
And
at
I
the
don't-
same time.
And I don't tip.
So
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
you give me the tip, but you don't tip, even if you give me the tip. So, God, where were we? Sugarcane. Yeah, I've done it with
Please.
Chrissy and
Sorry.
Fox.
Sorry.
Chopped it up,
Yeah.
chopped them some sugarcane,
Yeah.
and we chew on it when we go up to Bundaberg. It's great. It's delicious.
It's a
Sugarcane.
treat.
Oh, because it's not processed. It's sort of sweet, but it's this earthy sweetness to it. It's lovely.
Yeah.
But then late in the afternoon, army planes started to fly low over the woods, and then they started firing, and then they got attacked by infantry. The men dispersed like crazy. Fidel stayed with two of his men, and they ended up hiding in a cane field for days.
Right.
But in Che Guevara's diaries, he recounts his experience. So
Right.
Che's on the boat. He comes over from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what he wrote about in his diary. Suddenly, there was a steady burst of fire. Bullets whistled right and left. Airplanes appeared and began strafing us. Montaigne and I were leaning against a tree, talking about our children and eating our meager ration of half a sausage and 2 crackers, when we heard a rifle shot followed seconds later by a hail of bullets. My rifle was not one of the best. I had asked for that one because I was still in terrible shape after a prolonged attack of asthma. I don't know if we've talked about this, but Che had really, really bad asthma. He
Yeah.
had it since he was a kid.
Right.
And this is going to trouble him for the rest of his life. Like, his asthma is a big, big deal, both at, this stage of the beginning of the revolution, all the way through his life up until he dies at the hands of the CIA a decade or so later. But he didn't let it stop him. He's a fucking guerrilla revolutionary fighting in jungles all over the world.
Yeah. And hills,
whilst
mountains,
suffering terribly from asthma.
He needed one of those inhalers, whatever. I don't know, but it couldn't have hurt. Yeah.
He had inhalers, but in constant supplies. They had inhalers back then. He needed constant supplies of the gas. And if you're a guerrilla revolutionary fighting in the jungles, You
No.
can't just go to your local fucking Walgreens
Like a
and get
template.
supplies. And
Yeah.
sometimes he would have them and then they'd have to evacuate their camp quickly and he'd leave behind his supplies. This happened over and over again.
Yeah.
So bad, as we'll see over the coming episodes, he had to be carried through the Sierra Maestra Mountains many, many times by
Yes.
guys. They had to pick him up and carry him. Or he'd say to Fidel, just leave me here.
Yeah.
Just leave me here. I'm
Yeah.
a burden. And Fidel would like, no,
No.
don't be stupid. I'm not leaving
For
you.
for several
You're a
reasons.
doctor for a start. You're the
Exactly.
worst doctor ever because you're just sick all the time.
Right.
Anyway, back to his diary. Attack of asthma.
Yeah.
I remember all this vaguely. I recall that in the midst of the shooting, Almeida came over and asked for orders. I thought I had a picture of Almeida on my wall here, but it's Cienfuegos. And asked for orders, but there was no one there to give them. Fidel had tried unsuccessfully to get us all together in a cane field close by. The surprise attack had been overwhelming, the gunfire too heavy. My problem was to decide between my obligation as a doctor and my duty as a revolutionary. I grabbed a box of ammunition, leaving behind the knapsack with medicines, and crossed the clearing that separated me from the cane field. Faustino was on his knees at the edge of the field, firing his automatic. Near me, a comrade named Arbentosa was walking toward the cane field. A burst of fire got us both. I felt a hard blow on my chest and a sharp pain in my neck. I was sure I'd been fatally wounded. Blood spurting from his nose, mouth, and a gaping wound. Arbentosa shouted something like, "They've killed me!" and started firing wildly since there was no one to be seen. Lying on the ground, I said to Faustino, "They got me." Faustino glanced at me and told me it was nothing, but in his eyes I could see the fatal verdict. Stretched out on the ground, I fired into the woods, driven by the same dark impulse as the other wounded man. Everything seemed lost, and I suddenly started thinking about the best way to die. I remembered an old Jack London story in which the hero, knowing he will freeze to death in the cold wilderness of Alaska, leans against a tree trunk and gets ready to die with dignity. Somewhere behind me, Camilo was shouting, "Nobody surrenders here." That's who I've got up. I've got a poster up on my wall that one of our listeners who went to Cuba sent me years ago. It's of Fidel and Camilo Cienfuegos.
Oh, cool.
Camilo was shouting, "Nobody surrenders here." Ponce was dragging himself toward me. A bullet had apparently gone through his lung. For a moment, I just lay there alone, waiting for death, but Almeida came over and encouraged me to go on. I did, in spite of my pain, and we went into the cane field. A group, which included Ramiro Valdez, Chao Benitez, and myself, led by Almeida, crossed the last lane of the cane field and reached the woods safely, just as we heard the first shouts of "shoot" in the cane field. Each brigade met its own fate.
Damn.
So this is their first engagement. They've been in Cuba for 3 days
Yeah.
and they're all getting shot.
So it goes from 82. They're
Fucking brutal.
Exactly. And this is not the end. This is far from the end. But those 82 are going to be whittled down. If I could just read a short excerpt of Castro's memory at this moment. He writes, "Each man or small group had its own battle to fight. The three of us were hunkered down in the sugarcane, waited for night to fall. It wouldn't be long, and then we would head for those big woods. There we would sleep the best we could. Total forces, 3 men. Total weapons, my rifle with 90 rounds and Universos with 30. That was what was left of my command." So yeah, so the government knows where they're at. They're following them with planes. They're shooting them down. Men are being wounded. Like you said, he's leaving the medicine behind. Those 82 men started out seasick, and now they're dying. So again, not the best moment for the revolution. And then Castro would mention, of course, everybody can imagine this. He goes, "When that plane strafed me, the earth shook." I mean, I imagine it was very scary. And I'm not gonna go any further. But there comes a moment where Castro is like, "I've been arrested once. These guys are on our tail," and we've all seen this in the movies. "I'm not going back to prison." So he made, in his own head, he made a decision about it. Like, if things aren't looking good, I'm not going back to prison. He had a plan.
Yeah. Well, he knows he probably won't make it back to
Good
prison
point.
anyway. They'll
Good
just
point. Yeah.
take him at the back and shoot him in the head. And if he's going to die, He wants it to be at his own hand.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Fidel is just with two guys, and the area was full of soldiers. He wanted to head east along the edge of the woods and try and collect as many of his troops as he could and bring them back together.
Yeah.
One of the guys who was with him, Faustino Perez, was also a member of the leadership cadre, and he wanted to march through the sugarcane that was about 3 feet or a meter tall, so not very,
Yeah.
like it's not going to give you cover.
Right.
Sugarcane, for people who haven't seen a sugarcane field, don't want to assume, but sugarcane, when it's fully grown, is, it's a couple of meters plus. It's 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall. You can run through it and you won't be seen.
Yeah.
You'll get cut to fucking shreds. We used to do it as kids. We'd run through sugarcane fields and the leaves are razor sharp.
Oh, yes.
So you'd be covered in scratches all over your body.
Right.
But you're a kid, so you don't give a fuck. That's part of the fun.
Exactly.
Then you have a shower at night and the water gets into all the cuts and it stings like fucking, you're alive. But Fidel later says in his memoirs, I did the wrong thing. I got furious with Faustino's stubbornness and I said, you want to go that way? Okay, that way it is. It's not hard to imagine what a terrible state of mind I was in after seeing all the work we'd been doing for 2 years go up in smoke in a question of minutes.
Damn.
Taking that route was a mistake. We'd walked several kilometers in broad daylight when I spotted a civilian medium-sized plane that was circling about 3,000 feet above us.
Yeah.
I realized the danger that implied, so we speeded up. In front of us, there was a field of sugarcane that had been knocked down and 3 strands of marabou, a thorny plant that grows spontaneously on abandoned land. These were growing in a kind of line about 60 yards to the east of us. Almost simultaneously, the fighter jets coming in from the east started machine gunning the squadron.
Jeez.
Passing over and over again for what seemed an eternity to us, the earth would shake under the firepower of 80.50 caliber machine guns that each jet carried. We buried ourselves under the leaves and straw of the sugarcane and lay absolutely still.
Damn. And again, I don't have to remind anybody that sugarcane, as far as I know, is not bulletproof. You just hope you're not spotted.
But imagine that, like just lying, covering yourself with leaves in sugarcane with machine guns firing just randomly into the fields.
And you're just hoping that luck is on your side and you won't be hit by a stray bullet.
He then says, at that point, I lived through one of the most dramatic moments of my life, lying there in that cane field just yards from where we'd been strafed within an inch of our lives. I got very sleepy, very, very sleepy. And I said to myself, I know they're going to come in and go over this place on foot. They'll come to see what effect that tremendous attack had.
Yeah.
He said it was around midday and just the exhaustion that came over him from the tension that he'd been living through for those days just hit him like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It's like that stress response where your body just makes you tired when you can't go on.
Right.
And he said that, and he's telling this story to the journalist that interviewed him for the memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his mid to late 70s, I think, when he wrote this, maybe even his early 80s.
Right.
And he said in his life, there'd never been any situation more dramatic than this. He could barely keep his eyes open.
Yeah.
And he knows there are soldiers coming for him.
Yeah.
So he says, my rifle had 2 triggers. One trigger lightened the touch on the other. And the other one, practically all you had to do was touch it, so your shot would be very accurate. The gun had a 10-power telescopic sight. Under those circumstances, what did I do? When I realized there was no way I could stay awake, that I was sure to fall asleep, I laid down on my side and put the rifle butt between my legs and the end of the barrel under my chin. I didn't want to be captured alive if the enemy should come upon me while I was asleep. Yeah. Having a pistol in that situation is better. You can take it out more easily and shoot at the enemy or shoot yourself, but with a rifle like the one I had, if they surprised you while you were sleeping, you couldn't do anything. We were under the dry leaves and the little prop plane up in the air above us. Since I couldn't move, I fell asleep and slept very deeply. I slept for about 3 hours.
Body just gave out.
So he was ready to kill himself if
Yeah.
they found him.
And you're right. I mean, they might have tortured him because for Batista, this is frustrating as hell. It's better to take your own life than let them do it for you, maybe under horrific circumstances.
But being Fidel, he wasn't discouraged. He said, we started reorganizing with 2 rifles. Raul, on the other hand, his brother,
Right.
met us 2 weeks later with 5 guns. With
Woo!
the 2 we had,
Yeah.
that meant we had 7. That's when I said for the first time, now we can win this war.
Two rifles, I can't win the war, but you give me 7, I think we're going to be okay.
7.
Seven's a magic number. Most people don't know that. Jesus.
He said, I remember a phrase by Carlos Manuel de Céspedes, the Cuban revolutionary hero and the first president of Cuba from like the Revolutionary War in the 1860s.
Yeah.
Who, replying to the pessimists when he was in a similar situation and had only 12 men, said, we still have 12 men. That's enough to win Cuba's independence. Raul and I always had the same idea. Get to the Sierra and continue the war. Absolutely insane levels of bravado and confidence. But as he said, he learned from Céspedes, like the earlier Cuban revolutionary leader from almost a century earlier.
Yeah.
All you need is a handful of men and a few weapons, and you can win the war.
Exactly. What was that line? Oh shoot, from West Wing. Who are the people that
How do I know that only a handful of people can change the course of human history?
Right.
Because that's how it's always been.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Now, to me, what makes this all more entertaining and ironic is that this wasn't the plan. He doesn't want a long, drawn-out guerrilla war. It was supposed to be like a putsch. We were going to go in, people would rise up, and then they would take the fight to the leader or to the area's capital. But no. They're the ones hiding. They're the ones running away. They're the ones who are being shot up, losing men, losing guns. And so, and I'm sure in the back of his head is like, well, that's not what I had planned, but if we got to take the long route, fuck it. We'll take the long route because he still hasn't lost faith in himself. And after all, he does have 7 rifles. So I think he's going to be okay. I mean, insane amounts of confidence, like he said.
I think that's where we'll wrap up this episode, but several of his men were killed in that first ambush. 22 were captured and later put on trial. So he's gone from 82 down to 57, I think, within 3 days. And they've all split up. He's got to go find the rest of the guys now and bring them back together again. In Havana, the government triumphantly announced the death of Fidel Castro. And that was covered by the New York Times.
Yeah, because they don't get it wrong.
As we will see in the next episode. But then, when it turned out he was still alive, the New York Times sent a journalist from New York to go and meet with Fidel.
Yeah.
And I've been reading several of his books, but we'll talk about that on the next episode.